what's happening, Jays Nation? I need to talk to you about something that happened this week that most people are going to overlook. But if you're paying attention to how this organization operates, this move tells you everything you need to know about where the Blue Jays are headed. Rodriguez just got outrighted off the 40-man roster after clearing waivers. And before you click away thinking this is just another routine transaction, stay with me because there's way more going on here than meets the eye. This is about roster strategy, organizational philosophy, and what Toronto is prioritizing as they build toward contention. Real quick, smash that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. We're diving deep into every move this front office makes, and I need you here with us because we're not just covering the headlines. We're breaking down what these decisions actually mean for the future of this team. All right, let's break this down. Rodriguez clearing waivers is significant for multiple reasons. First, it tells us the Blue Jays read the market perfectly. They knew no other team would claim him, which means they successfully freed up a 40-man roster spot while keeping him in the organization. That's exactly what you want when you're managing assets. You don't lose the player, you don't give him away for nothing, but you create flexibility for yourself heading into the season. And make no mistake, Toronto needed that flexibility. Whether they're preparing to add someone new, protecting a prospect who needs to be added to the roster, or just creating breathing room for in-season moves, this spot matters. The 40-man roster is premium real estate, and the Blue Jays just reclaimed a piece of it without sacrificing long-term upside. But here's what really caught my attention. The fact that Rodriguez went unclaimed by all 29 other teams tells you how the rest of the league views him right now. This is a guy with a mid-90s fastball and a slider that flashes real potential. On paper, that's the kind of arm teams take flyers on all the time. But nobody bit. Why? Because potential without results doesn't move the needle in today's game. Front offices want certainty. They want guys who can contribute now, not projects who might figure it out eventually. And Rodriguez, for all his tools, hasn't proven he can be that guy yet. His command issues have followed him at every level, and until he shows he can consistently throw strikes and attack hitters, teams aren't going to burn a roster spot on him. Let's talk about what Rodriguez actually brings to the table, because it's not like this guy has nothing. His fastball sits mid-90s with good carry. When he elevates it properly, that's big league velocity right there. His slider can be nasty when he locates it, showing sharp late break that gets swings and misses. The changeup is still developing, but it's serviceable enough against left-handed hitters to keep them honest. So the stuff is there. The raw ingredients are absolutely present. The problem is putting it all together. His command has been inconsistent throughout his minor league career, and that's what's holding him back from making the jump. When he falls behind in counts, hitters sit fastball, and he becomes predictable. When he's ahead, he looks like a completely different pitcher, attacking zones and using his secondary stuff effectively. That's the frustrating part about Rodriguez. You can see the potential when he's on, but he hasn't been able to maintain that consistency over a full season. The Blue Jays had a decision to make, and they chose to prioritize immediate roster flexibility over keeping Rodriguez on the 40-man. That's not a knock on Rodriguez as a prospect. It's a reflection of where Toronto is as an organization. They're not in development mode anymore. They're in win-now mode. After coming 2 outs away from the World Series, this front office isn't interested in holding roster spots for guys who might contribute down the road. They need players who can help them right now, and Rodriguez doesn't fit that timeline yet. By outrighting him to AAA, they keep him in the system as organizational depth, but they're not committing valuable roster space to someone who isn't ready to impact the big league club immediately. Think about what this move signals about Toronto's approach to roster construction. Over the past few years, the Blue Jays have consistently prioritized strike throwers and guys who can handle leverage situations. They want reliability, and they want pitchers who can execute in high-pressure moments. Rodriguez, with all his potential, doesn't check those boxes yet. His command issues make him too risky for the kind of role Toronto needs to fill in their bullpen. That's not to say he can't get there eventually, but right now, he's not what this team needs. And when you're competing in the American League East, you can't afford to gamble roster spots on maybes. You need certainties, or at least guys who are close enough to certain that you can trust them when games matter. What's interesting here is how this move reflects broader trends across baseball. Teams used to be more willing to carry developmental arms on their 40-man rosters, hoping they'd figure things out in the big leagues. That philosophy has shifted. Now, organizations are increasingly unwilling to burn roster spots on projects when there are more polished options available, either internally or through trades and free agency. The Blue Jays are following that trend. They're valuing proven commodities and immediate contributors over long-term potential, especially when that potential comes with significant red flags like command issues. Another factor that probably played into this decision is how other teams view Rodriguez. When a contending club like Toronto quietly designates a player for assignment and he clears waivers without any interest, that sends a message across the league. Other front offices pay attention to these moves. They know Toronto's evaluation department is strong, and if the Blue Jays don't see Rodriguez as a 40-man caliber player right now, that influences how other teams assess him. It's not a perfect science, but front offices talk and they watch what other clubs do. When nobody claims Rodriguez, it confirms that the league-wide consensus aligns with Toronto's evaluation. He's interesting, but he's not worth a roster spot yet. So what happens next for Rodriguez? He's heading to AAA, where he'll have every opportunity to prove he belongs back on the 40-man. This isn't the end of his career with the Blue Jays. It's a reset. He needs to show improved command, build up consistent innings, and demonstrate that he can dominate at the highest level of the minors. If he does that, Toronto can always add him back to the roster later in the season if they need bullpen reinforcement. The organization still believes in his arm. They just don't believe in it enough to commit a roster spot right now. And honestly, that's fair. Rodriguez hasn't earned it yet. This is also a reminder that the 40-man roster is constantly evolving. Every move creates a domino effect. Adding one player means someone else has to go. Protecting a prospect means exposing someone else to waivers. It's a juggling act, and front offices are constantly weighing short-term needs against long-term upside. In this case, Toronto decided that the flexibility gained by removing Rodriguez outweighed the risk of losing him, and since he cleared waivers, that calculation paid off. Fan reactions have been all over the place. Some people don't care because they've never heard of Rodriguez. Others are frustrated because they see another young arm leaving the organization without getting a real chance. But the reality is somewhere in between. This isn't a catastrophic loss, but it's also not meaningless. Rodriguez had upside, and now he's off the 40-man. Whether that matters long-term depends entirely on whether he can develop his command and force his way back onto the roster. The Blue Jays aren't giving up on him. They're just choosing not to prioritize him right now. Bottom line, this move is about flexibility, roster management, and organizational philosophy. The Blue Jays are building a team designed to compete for championships, and that means making tough decisions about who deserves a 40-man spot and who doesn't. Rodriguez has talent, but he hasn't proven he's ready to contribute at the big league level. Until he does, he'll be developing in AAA, waiting for his opportunity. The door isn't closed, but it's not wide open either. That's the reality for fringe prospects in a competitive organization. Jays Nation, that's the full breakdown on Rodriguez being outrighted off the 40-man roster. It's not a massive headline, but it matters for understanding how this front office operates and what they value. Stay locked in with us because roster moves like this happen constantly, and we're going to cover every single one so you know exactly what's going on with your Blue Jays. Hit that like button, drop a subscribe, and let's keep building this community. Thanks for being here. Let's go Blue Jays.